Prologue. No Love in L.A. Palais Royale. Club Damnation. 2 years ago. Gabe. Go see if the blonde in the pink dress wants to come up.
Sure thing, boss.
Ray pulled the door closed, and I turned back to the window to watch as he weaved his way through the dancing crowd. Seth moved up behind me. Is this how you're going to deal with it? Deal with what? Since Seth informed me that Harper had left town, my stutter had vanished. Funny how that worked. Got a stutter? Discover that the only woman you've ever loved doesn't think you're worth fighting for. Watch her leave you, and turn to drink. Close off all emotion. Immediate fix. 0 out of 10. Wouldn't recommend. Going back to your old habit of fucking nameless club-goers isn't gonna make you feel better. I lit another cigarette, drew the nicotine into my lungs, tipped my head back, and blew out smoke rings. I squinted at Seth through them. Who said I'm trying to feel better? Another cloudy smoke ring hung between us. Although a good fuck has special powers. Nothing like that to make you feel good about your life choices. You know what else has special powers? Not fucking up your relationship in the first place. Okay, so he was going there. Fine. You think I should have sat down with the woman who'd just been given the news she can't have kids and tell her all about the groupie who was claiming to carry my babies? Oh, and by the way, apparently I also fucked her when I was in Detroit because said girlfriend refused to come with me. I sneered. You don't think that would have fucked anything up? What about Meredith? What about her? I tracked Ray as he guided the blonde through the crowd toward the stairs which led up to the VIP room. Why the fuck didn't you tell Harper you were going to the hearing? I flinched at her name. Because I thought there was no fucking way that psycho bitch would ever make parole. Who the fuck lets a lunatic like her free? I swung around to face my best friend. Don't you get it, Seth? I forced myself to say her name. Harper made it clear she wanted nothing to do with the fame, the limelight, or even the fucking band. She wanted it kept away from her. From us. So that's what I fucking did. So this is all Harper's fault? No! I snapped the word and took another pull on the cigarette before continuing in a quieter tone. No. Everything is my fault, Seth. Harper loved the person I was before the fame. But the person I am now? I shrugged. Not so much. I crossed the bar in the corner and poured a fresh whiskey, added ice, and turned as the door opened. And just like that, I became Gabe fucking Mercer, rock star, full of smiles and charm as I greeted the blonde who was escorted into the room. Hey, darling, thanks for coming up. Can I get you a drink? She sashayed into the room, bringing a waft of cheap perfume with her. Her eyes darted around, spotted Seth standing near the window, and her fake eyelashes fluttered while she licked her lips. I'm such a huge fan. Her voice was breathy, reminding me of a bad Marilyn Monroe impression. Yeah, that's great. I turned back to the bar. Wine, vodka, what can I get you? White wine would be perfect, thank you. Her hand landed on my arm. I glanced down and, for a split second, lavender nails swam in front of my eyes. I froze, blinked, and they were replaced with dark red talons curling into my sleeve. I ignored the churning in my stomach and reached for a bottle of white wine. Uncorking it, I filled a glass and handed it to her. Shall we go sit down? I pressed my palm to the small of her back and guided her across the room to the long couch in front of the window. I saw you down on the dance floor and couldn't take my eyes off you. Seth snorted and I glanced over to find him standing, like some kind of grim fucking reaper, watching my every move. I held his gaze while I settled onto the couch and dropped an arm over the blonde's shoulders. He shook his head but stayed silent. Not that he needed to say anything. His eyes were full of the judgment he was withholding from saying. Is this your first time at Damnation? Oh, no. She paused for a sip of wine. Me and my girlfriends are here every week. She leaned into my side, and I fought against the need to move away. I've always hoped that one day I'd be invited up here. Who's your favorite band member? I smirked at Seth.
Oh, you are, Gabe. It's always the singer, right?
Looks like tonight's your lucky night then, since you're getting the singer all to yourself. Seth tossed back the remains of his drink, and I narrowed my eyes at him. I'm out of here. He placed his empty glass on the bar and walked out, leaving me alone with my new friend. She wasted no time in setting her glass on the floor and wrapped her arms around my neck so she could land a wet kiss on my mouth. Her tongue was like a heat-seeking missile, pushing between my lips and sliding along mine, while her hands found the buttons on my shirt and popped them open. The churning in my stomach became a dull ache, but I ignored it in favor of hooking my fingers into the straps of her dress and peeling them down her arms. She wasn't wearing a bra beneath the bright pink material, and her breasts were firm and fake. I pulled my lips from hers and tipped my head back against the couch while she crawled onto my lap and kissed her way down my throat.
What do you want me to do?
She whispered in what I assumed she thought was a sultry tone.
I'll do anything you want.
At one time, that statement would have been music to my ears. But not tonight. I cracked open one eye and looked at her. Don't talk. If she didn't talk, I could pretend she was someone else. Her lips moved into a pout, but she did as I said and fell silent, then bowed her head to run her tongue down my chest until she reached the waistband of my jeans. The dull ache in my chest turned to acid and made its way up to my throat, becoming a wave of nausea, which I attempted to ignore. When she unbuttoned my jeans and reached for my dick, I caught her wrist and pulled it away from my body. I didn't want her to discover I wasn't even hard, that nothing about this situation was turning me on. She looked up at me, and I shook my head, pushed her away, and lurched to my feet.
Gabe?
I gritted my teeth, dodged her outstretched hand, and made it into the bathroom seconds before I threw up everything I'd consumed that day, which was mostly liquid and alcohol-based. Vomiting turned into dry heaving once my stomach was empty, and I dropped to my knees so I could rest my head against the cold, tiled floor.
What the fuck are you doing?
I whispered to myself. Get a grip. Go back in there. Turn on the charm you're famous for. You have to do this. My pep talk fell on deaf ears. I laughed. The truth of the fact I couldn't even convince myself that I wanted to fuck the woman in the other room not lost on me. The tip-tap of heeled shoes on the tiled floor warned me I had company.
Maybe I should leave.
I lifted my head and peered at the blonde hovering nearby. Well, no fucking shit. I didn't say that, though. Instead, I nodded and waved a hand.
Should I call someone?
Just tell Ray on your way out. I gave a tired sigh and let my head drop back down. Maybe she'd put the stutter down to the vomiting. Maybe she wouldn't. I didn't care anymore.